everybody.
Hey, what's going on, Greg? How you feeling, man?
Andy, how you doing, brother? Long time. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, man. Taking it day by day. Same shit, different toilet, man.
That's the fucking truth. Each. Ah, how we all doing in this evening?
Excellent. Andy, I'm gonna let you start because I know you've kind of had a kind of a rough go this week.
Uh, it's just been weird, but for the most part, I'm just glad it's Friday. We're doing our thing. We're yeah, we're gonna go live now, and we're having a great conversation with Greg, doing a part two of this of the pretty much of the interview, man. So we'll start with you, man. Like, what makes you happy, bro?
What makes me?
What makes
I
you
don't know.
happy? What a great
I,
question. What a great question.
I, I just had 2 days off after working 9 in a row. I mean, that felt pretty good. But I gotta go back tomorrow, so it's whatever. I needed desperately to decompress, and I did desperately, but
Yeah,
feeling a little better.
yeah. There's nothing like having 2 days back to back, man. That's such a great feeling, man.
No,
For
yeah.
real.
And when you work a
Um,
rotating bullshit schedule, it's nice to remember what a weekend feels like.
Yeah, I mean, I only
Word,
got
nah, for real.
Andy, I only got like what, 8 weeks off right now.
Fuck off.
Hey, listen, 8 weeks is eight
Hey,
weeks.
I
Eight
had
weeks
a
is eight
year. I
weeks.
had a year, man. I deserve these fucking 8 weeks, man.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, no.
Word.
There's a reason I didn't become a teacher. Don't worry about it.
Oh man. So last time we
Hmm.
went live, I mean we had our episode, we talked about how, we were releasing your new book. Now
Hmm.
that your book has been released, how do you feel about the release of this new book?
I feel pretty decent about it. I mean, it's out there.
You
I
should
think
feel pretty
more.
fucking decent about it. It's
No,
fucking great. I got it
yeah.
right here. It's
Well, thank you.
fucking great.
Thank you.
I actually gave Greg. I'm sorry not to cut you off, but I actually gave
No,
one of your books to Divide the Fall when I gave him a gift package. So
oh,
I
cool.
gave him to the band, man. Yeah.
Very
So
cool. Thank you. Thank you. No, the reception from like my core little group following of like 30 has been pretty good. I've really yet to get out to like the little independent shops and whatnot yet, just because I've just been like kind of just backing off a little bit. This book took a fuck ton out of me, so I'm just kind of letting it take its course, and I'm enjoying seeing what people are saying about it and all that jazz. Um, yeah, that's really it. I mean, it's out. I'm happy about it, and now it's on to the next thing. No rest for the wicked.
Awesome.
hold on. You said
Yeah,
that
I
this
feel you.
book took a lot out of you. Can you talk about that at all? Like, what do you mean? Just because it's extensive. It looks like it's a little bit longer than almost double the size almost as the
It's a little
first
bit
one.
longer because I was more sure of myself with this one, so I was like, let's expand it a little more. Um, and a lot of the pieces in this one, they progressed from what they started. Like some of them, the one I'm gonna read started out as just a basic sort of recollection, um, and it grew into something a little bit more because I liked the tone that it started to take. It started to take a little different tone than I expected. And I'm like, let me see if I can run with this and experiment a little bit, because if you're gonna get better at this, you gotta kind of break from what you know, or what you're familiar with and comfortable with. So I tried to experiment a little with that, and I was like, all right, let's really try that a little bit more with some other pieces, and a lot of them expanded into something a lot more, and I had to pick a lot of old scabs to get out what I wanted to get out. I think I even mentioned that in the preface, what you're about to expect, and it's really, I took Hemingway's advice, bleed at the typewriter, and I did. I really fucking, this one took a lot out of me, and it felt really good afterwards. But so anybody who does not like this one I'm going to take it personally because it's so much went into it. But that's about it. But yeah. So I wanted to expand on a lot more and just break out of that comfort zone, break the pattern, and just see where it took me. I like where it took me. I'm very happy with how this book was.
Can you talk to me? Like, talk to us about where the places it took you to. I'm very intrigued to know, where did it take you exactly. I'm very interested to know.
Not many places I wanted to go again, but for the sake of entertainment, that's where I went. It's not just relationship stuff. It's not just heartbreak stuff. It's like a lot of defeatism went into this. The year I was writing this, I was going through a lot of like personal BS, like worse than I had in a long time, and that comes because I was in a really tough sort of hateful place that came through here. But I think it made a lot of improvement on this. So a lot of it has to do with a lot of defeatism. But I didn't really tell a full fucking narrative with this or anything, but like I try to set up so like the ones where I hate my life from the beginning and the ones where I have a little more optimism or a little more toward the end. So I don't want to say it's like overly optimistic or I found the silver lining or whatever, but it's just kind of like, yeah, everyday shit. It's like, well, what the fuck are you going to do? I'm not going to just lay down and die. I'm not ready to do that yet. So that's where I took that. So a lot of just the muck that I was feeling earlier, I kind of purged a lot of that, which I desperately needed to. Some of it's related to what it's in the book. Some of it's not related to what's in the book, but it all went into the whole, if that makes sense.
Okay. No, that makes sense. And with all that being said, is that also the inspiration behind the title, The Fog at the Midnight?
I like to do that little trick where like what you think is like the best one or like what your favorite one is becomes like the title for your book. And one of my favorite ones is the title piece in there. I'm very proud of that one. I want to read that one today. That one, like I said, that's the one that started as just a basic recollection. And then I took it a little more different because it kind of took on like a sort of haunting, mysterious, like ghostly, like foggy, shrouded sort of mood, I think. And I wanted to play with that a little bit. I'm not going to tell you what it's about because I'm going to read the fucking thing, but you'll see soon enough. But that piece right there is sort of like it all encompasses the entire book, where it's like it started as one thing and then it became almost something not completely different, but more of what it was, more of what I wanted it to become. And it happened naturally. I love when that happens, when it just falls into place like that.
Absolutely.
Word.
I couldn't agree more. I don't know if you are new to Greg Manzi. He does have two collections of poetry books, but we're talking about the one that came out this year, February 4th, 2023. So just a couple of months in. I've had the privilege of reading both the first and second collection of books. In this book, Andy, I don't know, towards the center of it, he kind of goes into a whole narrative kind of structure. It's completely different. You kind of throw a kind of a curveball. Is that kind of where the precipice of where you kind of changed from a darker theme after this section? Is that where the light starts to come through?
If it's the one I'm thinking of.
Well, it's
I think
whole
it is.
Situation. It's
yeah,
a whole narrative. You got chapters.
Yes. That is, I would love to read that one, but it would take like the entire time. But that one, that's the one.
It's a whole story.
Story. That was a tough one for me to get through. A tough one for me to get through, but that was, you're right. That's kind of like me bottoming out, and then things sort of get a little bit better after that. And it happened unintentionally. I didn't intend to set it up like that, but that's why I love when it just comes together like that. That's when you know it's the real deal. That one's intense. That one's very intense. There was a lot of purging, a lot of old wounds open up in that one. I don't know if you finished that one yet.
But I finished it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I read both of them.
But yeah,
I'm just
that's where. Okay, that's where. Yeah, but you're right. That's where I kind of bombed out, and then the light kind of shone through a little bit.
Yeah, because if you're just joining us, we are interviewing Greg Manzi, GM Manzi, who has two collections of poetry books out there. We were talking about The Fog of Midnight Hours and how he talked about that there are some dark themes, but towards the end there was some positivity. And this collection of books took a lot out of him, he said. And what about now? Like, are you feeling a little more relieved after having all of this kind of carved out? I mean, because this is pretty intense. Like I said, this section, I wish we could read all the 10, I think it's 10 chapters there. Do you feel like it's a catharsis that happened here? You feel good to go?
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't say good to go, but it definitely, catharsis without question. Without question. And I'm not one of those people who says, writing is my therapy. I'm not one of those people, but it can be very therapeutic. And if you know how to channel it right, you can get some good shit out of it. That's what it is. You just, you find it, you hone it, and you kind of like just force it out there. And then, you see what's scattered, because it's going to be garbage probably. And then you just got to, all right, let's pick up the pieces, and what do I have here? Okay, yes, I vomited out all my hatred and all my emotion, but this can be better. Why would I just leave it like this? Let me make something out of this. Let's make something nice out of something that was disgusting. That makes sense to me.
Okay, I like that. No, that makes sense.
And we've probably talked about that quite a few times, about how we've taken some dark stuff and twisted into some artwork pieces. Andy, your thoughts on that?
No, I agree with everything Greg said. It makes 100% sense. I always look at it as, something that could be so dark could be so positive at the same time. Because the thing is, every positive thing shouldn't always be gummy bears and Candyland. Like, I'm sorry, it's just not always gonna be like that. It's that kumbaya bullshit. I'd rather, sometimes some of the most positive things comes from the most darkest places. So I think sometimes the most darkest places is needed, because when we reflect on those things, it's like, oh wow, okay, I remember that time, but I got through it. So now that's the positive side of it. Now I could talk about it. And it's so raw too when we talk about those things, because we don't know how raw it can get. And I think that's what makes those things authentic. That's just my opinion of it. So let's read some poetry, man. Come on, give us a taste. Give these people a taste.
All right, well, because I already mentioned, I might as well read the title piece from Fog of Midnight Hours, entitled Fog of the Midnight Hours. So here we go. Goes like this. They walked arm in arm down the all but deserted downtown streets just after midnight. A cold mist hung in the air, giving the streetlights and neon bar signs a subdued, ghostly glow. This was the old part of the city, where there were still cobblestone streets and antique dome streetlights left over from the city's Gilded Age splendor. Hassan himself could have painted the scene. He walked as slowly as possible, trying not to give away to her that he was doing so purposely. They eventually arrived at the cab her friends had gone ahead to grab and piled into, waiting for her. The sounds of the Saturday night revelers faded into the dark and damp of night. The two of them hugged one more time before she got in. It was a full embrace, tight and strong, but comforting, familiar. It was left unspoken, but they knew they'd never meet again, and they wanted it to mean something. "You're a good person," she whispered into his ear, "and I sincerely enjoyed having this time with you tonight." They pulled away. The slight wetness he saw gathering in her eyes was proof of her sincerity. "Thank you," was all he could think to say, and she understood why he could say no more. She smiled a melancholic smile, then proceeded to brush his shoulders with both hands before patting down and straightening the lapels of his coat. She leaned in and kissed him, affectionately, on the cheek. Her lips felt cold and otherworldly. He didn't know if it was due to the amount of Guinness he had drunk that night, but he found himself comforted rather than put off by this, as there was a tenderness from her that passed right through him. Their gaze met as she pulled away. Her eyes, aqua green earlier, now appeared, he believed, spectral gray. But like her lips, the tenderness of her eyes, too, was otherworldly. He saw in them what he felt to be the vastness of some great beyond that existed well outside the grasp of what he knew and understood, a place whose existence, as well as its inhabitants, he was forbidden to know until it was his turn and he was called. Her melancholic smile remained as she finally turned to get in and join her friends to their next destination. The cab pulled away, and she disappeared back into the mist and mystery of the night, as if she were one with all its secrets. He hoped to take away from this something deep, some meaning or lesson from this experience. The only thing he knew for certain was that it was, as quickly as she came into his life, she was now gone from it. He rubbed his cheek with his hand. He thought he could still feel her lips there, but when he closed his eyes, she was no longer there. Some paths, he knew, were not meant to intersect twice. Some mysteries exist to remain unsolved, and the stories we are in are oftentimes not our stories at all. 3 hours, he said to himself as he put his cold hands back into his coat pockets. 3 drunken hours out of a lifetime, and I'll never know what the hell for. As he turned from where he stood and began walking back, he found himself wishing he could remain behind in the fog of the midnight hours and be one with its riddles and its increasingly biting cold, rather than return to the light and warmth of the blissfully ignorant living, which he believed held nothing for him anymore. Nothing like having touched and known the unknown as he had for 3 drunken hours out of a lifetime. Whew,
Wow.
man. Thank you.
Wow. Oh man. You know, so many directions you can take this right now. Oh my God. Some parts of that piece definitely resonated with me, man. Oh my
Well, good.
God. There's the, you know what's funny?
Mm.
No, no, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
Then I did my job. That is why we do this. We do it to entertain, and we do it to make someone feel anything. That's the base of it. Anyone who does anything else is full
Oh man. I need a minute to process this. Angela, your
All
thoughts,
right,
because
well,
this
no
is
worries.
wow.
I'll take over, Andy. No worries. I usually just give you the chance to talk, so I don't talk over you. Absolutely, I can definitely see why this is the title of this collection for sure. It's got a very incredible narrative feel to it. Again, that's why Andy is so drawn into the whole recollection of it, because you pull us in with this kind of romanticism, and then all of a sudden, poof, like the fog in the midnight hours, it is gone, and then it's lingering, it's there, and you just want it back. But again, 3 drunken hours out of a lifetime. It's just also, you kind of, with this, it's the way you can extrapolate on a moment. A moment feels like a lifetime in just not even 3 pages of poetry. So fucking well done. That's what we say here, right, Andy?
Thank you.
I definitely was drawn to the whole part for sure. Where she was now gone from it. As quickly as she came into his life, she was now gone from it. And that's where kind of we feel the turning point of the whole entire
That's
piece. Andy?
disappointment, man. That's a straight up disappointment. I've had moments like that where it was just like, but you know what it is? It's like you said, the moment that felt a lifetime. You know, when you're in the moment, it's like, yes, it's the fucking greatest thing on the planet. But once that moment's gone, it disappoints us because we realize, as good as that moment was, some of those moments are just temporary. And that's why I love the fact that you point, there's just some things that are not meant to intersect twice. Like that makes so much fucking sense, because there's just some things you're never gonna experience it again. And it's crazy because back in college, it's funny because I was just writing a piece about a girl I used to like in college, and this felt like amazing. And it's like 1 year, like 3 months close to like 1 year, it's like, okay, that's it. She fucking disappeared. I saw her again 2008, and that lasted maybe another couple of months here and there, and then she disappeared. I've never seen this girl ever again. Like, it's so fucking crazy. And there was a time where I thought about her a lot, and then I stopped thinking about her, and then I dated my first girlfriend and all that stuff. And it's funny because there was a poet named Robert Kazi who wrote a piece called Derek that's what inspired the piece. While I'm listening to a song called Angela by the Lumineers, I'm listening to the piece. Oh, this is perfect. And I'm like, you know, I never thought I'd talk about this person again after all these years. This is like what, 2005, we're what, 2023, 2008. So this is like a good 30 fucking years ago. So I'm just like, fuck it. I guess this letter is my poetry to you, I guess, because we love poetry. But it's so crazy how something one moment could disappear and never experience again. It's so crazy. I think about it like, it's kind of like drugs too, in a way, because it's like, we know that's like our escape away from whatever our reality is. But then once that high wears off, there's that disappointment, because now it's like, oh crap, I gotta go back to that shit again. It's like, fuck, I need another numb moment. But then sometimes when we get too addicted to something, and then it's like, now we don't have the access to that thing anymore. So I felt like that girl was the access that we're never gonna have again, because once we lose the access to whatever that girl represents, then it's so disappointing. It's like, oh fuck, now I'm back to this shit again. Oh, now I gotta find something else. But but even when we find something else, that something else is not as good as the girl.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And like I said, this is the one where this was a basic recollection. It's just like, okay, I'm gonna remember this drunk night that I had. It'll be, another drunk night in the, downtown with lights and all the shit like that. But I started thinking about, it. I'm like, it was like drizzling that night. I don't remember what she looks like. I don't remember what her name was. None of that shit. So I'm just like, this is like a fucking mystery. It's like, did it even happen? So that's why I was like, let me take this in a different direction here and see if it sticks. And I was very, very happy with the direction I took with the mystery and this haunting sort of feel that I had for it. I don't know where I got it from. There was something specific that I was like referencing and thinking of when I was writing. I don't remember what it was. I'm sorry, but it's put me in that mood where I'm like, okay, I want to have this haunting sort of tune going on this whole time, and I just love how it turned out. And yeah, and like I didn't want it to be negative or defeatist. I wanted it, because a lot of when I was writing this book, a lot of the personal shit that went into it, the big theme was letting go and acceptance. And however many years I'm removed from this moment, it's like, okay, I'm not mad about it anymore. It's like, or wondering, hey, why did this happen? It's like, maybe it was a mystery. Maybe she was this fucking ghost or specter or whatever you believe in that just showed up and then was gone. That's for whatever reason. That's where I got it from. Okay, so are any of you all familiar with Neil Gaiman and the Sandman and all that?
I know the Sandman as far as like the wrestler and Sandman, like the song from Metallica. That's the only Sandman I know. And then Terminator. I think is it Terminator? There's a person named the Sandman. I forget.
Because Neil Gaiman, he's a fantasy writer. He wrote the Sandman comics in like the early '90s. One of his characters is the personification of death, and she's one of my favorite comic book characters ever. She's like this normal, like 25 to 35-year-old gothic girl, and there's this whole storyline with her where she has to go and live the life of somebody who's about to die for one day, so she never loses sight of what she does as death. And almost everything involving her, there's like a shroud of mystery surrounding. And that was sort of where I pulled from. Like, okay, I like that shroud of mystery thing. Let me see if I can pull that off. So I kind of had that going in my mind the whole time, and that's where that influence came from. So a lot of shit goes into just one thing, and you don't even think about that until afterwards.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Sometimes you're taking one thing that felt like it was a reality point, but then you extrapolate it on so many other levels. Sewing in those distant variations that you spoke of just now. So
yeah,
that's why you were so successful, because it's so layered. It's layered in there. And that's why you feel that mystery, and that's why you feel the fog.
And that's why I did, because so many people write the raw recollection, and I'm just sick to death of it. Even though I'm guilty of writing that stuff, everybody does that. But I don't want to be the one-trick pony who that's all he does. That's all he's known for. I don't want every single book I write to be just the same shit. I don't want to become AC/DC, where they're good, but it's the same album for the last 30 years. I don't want to be that guy. And I want to, with each release, I want to keep trying to do something just a little bit different. Nothing drastic, but just tweak things here, tweak things there. What can I pull here? What can I pull there? How can I make this? And so I never want to stop trying to improve or trying to try something different and see if it sticks. Because that's how you get better. And that's a very simple concept to me that I don't think a lot of people grasp from what I've observed. I think they're scared to do that because they're afraid of not being accepted. And that's a shame, because you're fine. You'll be accepted, but you're just going to be mediocre for the rest of your life. I'd rather be unsuccessful, but be fucking sincere, to be honest with you. Whatever money I make from this is just a nice perk. I'm not in it for that,
Wow. Yeah, that makes absolute sense.
Andy, I definitely agree with what Greg said as far as he has a big variety of types of writing that he likes to put in his collections. Because he just sampled for us earlier, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Greg Manzi. He just read Fog of the Midnight Hours, which is the title of his second book that came out this year in February. It's available on Amazon. Definitely, I recommend getting both of those books out there. But throughout the collection, like I said, there is a whole section where it's basically a straight-on narrative. then you have more of a traditional style kind of a poetry. I read one thing a couple of weeks ago, zigged instead of zagged, I think it was.
Okay, yeah.
And it reminded me almost of a Dr. Seussy kind of a rhyme scheme as far as how it sounded. So again, like Greg, you are definitely a jack of all trades here. So what's going to happen next, do you think? Or
I don't know just yet. I mean, I still have a whole archive of stuff to pull from and like tweak and make better and all that. So I can always fall back on that. I want to get started on the short story writing. I have a ton of fucking ideas that are only like half processed or like the first paragraph is going. That's a totally different approach to writing that kind of thing because it has to be longer to begin with, and you're just trying to tell. You're trying to tell more. That's the thing. I really suck at writing dialogue too, so I'm trying to figure out a way to like avoid that if I can. But that's the thing. I got a couple things planned. I think that's where I want to go next because there's a lot of good shit that I want to tell, and I think the only way to tell them is in like a short story format or however fucking long it winds up. I don't want if it becomes like a long ass whatever novella or whatever. Fine, sure, whatever. I don't have that goal. I just want to get it done and get it out there. If it's another poetry book, fine. If it's a short story collection, fine. If it's whatever it becomes, what it becomes. You know, I just want the story told.
So you don't have to tell us what the story is, Greg, because obviously this is a future project down the line. But what kinds of things is like what you're thinking of? Like what kind of book would this be? What story are you trying to tell? Is it a thriller? Is it just a humanizing story? What is it? Like what are you planning at? What secret are you basically gonna throw out to us here in the world?
Just take any poem out of my book and turn it into a story. That's really I've actually thought about doing that and been like, okay, how can I expand this into like 5 pages? You know, that kind of thing.
Like this one.
Yeah, exactly. You know, take more of the everyday stuff and just go further into it. The big one that I'm working on, and this is I think if I do this right, this could be the best thing I fucking do. It's gonna be based on my high school homecoming. Which is so it's gonna be kind of like because I've always wanted to write a sports story because I played football in high school, but I don't want it to be like, you know, we got our asses kicked homecoming. Our homecoming game was disgusting. We got the fuck beat out of us.
Senior year? I gotta know, is this
senior
year? Is this
senior year? Yeah. Senior year.
Senior year. Gotta be senior year. Okay.
We got our asses beat for homecoming. So right off the bat, it's not a Disney sports story because we are gonna get the fuck beat out of us. But I kind of want to parallel it with like the game and the homecoming dance afterwards, and kind of form it around the theme of this is life. You're gonna get your fucking ass beat. You're gonna be disappointed, and there's really nothing you can do other than take your shower and go home. You know, I have a couple Vince Lombardi quotes I'm drawing from for that. You know, but which you kind of have to. But that kind of thing. Yeah, that's the big one. And there's other things that I got in the wheelhouse too. But it's just a matter of getting to it.
Yeah, that's the peril of living life and trying to live life. Right, Andy?
Exactly.
No, I definitely agree with you on that. Again, I'm just listening and embracing everything here, man. This is so good.
I try.
Yeah, you gotta give us.
Who doesn't love a good homecoming story where the home team gets their asses kicked? That's what happened in my high school too. Our football team sucked. Our soccer team almost made like state champs that year. That was pretty cool. Oh God, what a great! I mean, I already know. I don't know where it's gonna go, but I know that already is so universal that people are gonna want to know, Greg. People are gonna want to know.
All right.
See, I never had an experience like that. Yeah, unfortunately, again, I went to I was born in the ghetto, so you know, in the ghetto you don't have crap like that. Yeah, homecoming dance, like there's no shit like that. This is all like go to school, get beat up, go home, talk to people in the projects, and then same shit every day, and then it do this lingo, yo, what up, hope slice, and all this bullshit. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm not ashamed of where I'm from, but that's just not my thing. I'll say, I'm glad I got out of it. That's all I can say about that.
Hey, you got out, man.
But,
God,
Andy, could you imagine a homecoming, though? Could you imagine what it would be like?
Yeah, a fight will break out. That's exactly what would happen. That's exactly what would happen in the ghetto. Like, I kid you not. That's exactly what would happen.
That
There
sounds
won't
about
be
right.
no, hey, will you go steady with no? Like if you go with a girl, you're gonna go fuck the girl. You're gonna fuck her. That's really what it is. Like that's just how it is,
So
man.
Andy,
Like no
that
one's
sounds
thinking
like,
about.
and I think
Hmm.
you should write your own version then. You can write your
Yeah,
own
there you
version
go.
of a homecoming story.
Oh
I do
my
that.
god.
Hell, I definitely read
Word.
Homecoming in the Hood. That sound good.
Word. Oh God, I could say so many stories about the hood, man. It's
Make it a
not like it
comedy. Make it
used
a
to be,
comedy. Like,
but
don't
yeah.
be a menace.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's hilarious. Oh my God. Come on, read us another piece,
All right.
man.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
Um.
too, Andy. Perfect.
Okay. Well, because it's Father's Day week, I thought I'd read one based around dads, because it's Chris Rock once famously said, "All Daddy gets is a big piece of chicken at dinner time. Everyone loves Mama, but no one gives a shit about Daddy." Uh, so this is gonna be from the first book, We Live Like Kings. This one is based around my dad. This is called Cheshire Cat Grin, or To Dad on his 60th. Goes like this. There's a picture I found of Dad and I from when I was a boy. I was 3, maybe 4 years old. He must have been around my age then that I am now. He's got me up on his shoulders as he walks. This was during a time before my sister existed, back when he would call me Bit-a Buddy, which stood for Little Bit of a Buddy. He's got on his gorgeous pea coat he got in the Navy, and is wearing the Cheshire Cat grin of his that I have come to inherit. I wonder what he was smiling about during that walk in the fall of 1989. I believe it was elation. He had, after all, just finished his military service. Armed with the knowledge he had escaped a motherless and impoverished childhood, fed on a steady diet of daily scoldings, beatings, and boiled beef and gravy. Or being left with relatives, friends of the family, and acquaintances, who all must have wondered what the hell was going on while my grandpa went out to gallivant and sow his wild oats. If I could reach him through that picture, would I tell him that in 30 years' time that you will violently hurt your back and get booted from the police force, divorce your wife, never reconnect with your insane father or absent mother, and eventually sport hair resembling Ben Franklin? Yes, and I'd tell him he did well. I get to tell him he retired early after busting his ass for the local electric company for 25 years, and that life thereafter would be naught but road trips, tea times, and early bird specials at the diner with his retired golf buddies. I'd get to tell him that by the time he hits the milestone of 60, he'd have weathered the storm completely. I wonder how much wider that Cheshire Cat grin would get if he knew that during that walk in 1989. My guess, as wide as it still is today.
Wow. I love that.
Thank you.
Wow. Talk to me about that retirement, man, because I just gotta know, man.
No, my dad worked an insane amount of OT for like 5 years in a row. Like, because he was like, because all he did for the electric company was read people's meters. He even said, "I do the dumbest shit in the world, and I get paid stupid money for it." There would be times that
Wow.
he'd be on like triple time and a half, working. Like, if there was a storm, he'd be there. He'd be like, "Yeah, I'll do it," like all day and night. Like, he'd be exhausted, but he was racking up stupid money. And he
Yeah.
retired at 54. He retired at 54. He's 63. He just turned 63. So,
Wow.
and all he's done since then is golf and travel. That's all he does. And it's like, well, that's retirement. You've earned it. You've earned it.
Bro, you know
And
what? I hope I can retire at 54, man. That would be a dream come true. I don't want to wait till 65, man. Like,
I'm living in a box. I don't care. Once I hit 65, I'm done. I don't care. I'll live in a box. I'm done. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, I feel you, man.
I just remember like the amount of shit that he was doing. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll work sunrise to sundown. I'll work holidays. What do I care? I got nowhere to be." It's easy.
Word.
I drive from house to house and get out and look. What do I care? So that was that.
Word.
I gotta tell
Wow.
you, Greg.
That's deep, though.
I gotta tell you, Greg, that
Hmm.
your dad very much reminds me so much of my own father that it's hard for me
Hmm.
not to want to connect deeply to this piece.
Hmm.
My dad is an ex-Marine. His mother died when he was 7,
Hmm.
like beat to death.
Hmm.
He worked for 35 plus years at an insurance company,
Hmm.
life insurance company, and all he wanted to do was retire and play golf. That's all he wanted to do was retire and play golf. So
Hmm.
like I can't help but feel very emotionally connected to this piece because that father figure is much like my father figure. So it's
Hmm.
easy for me to connect to that.
Good. Excellent.
So it's really well done. But again, I just like the whole description of this person, of who he is, what he went through, and how you pay honor and homage to him. And that's very clear. Has your father read this?
No, yeah, he's read both of them.
What does he say? What does he think? Because I would never give my poetry to my parents, whether it was positive or not. So
well, that's what I was nervous about that's what I got nervous about. I'm like, fuck, my parents gonna be reading this shit. So I'm like, oh, no going back now. Here we go. But no, it was kind of because a lot of it was so my dad and my parents split when I was like 13 or 14. So I was raised by my mother with my sister, and I think because my dad didn't have a useful dad of his own, he kind of had a tough time like with the openness. So we never had the open father-son, birds and the bees talk. Son, tell me about your day. No, we do kind of now, and I think it's because the books came out. And I think he saw, okay, this is reality, and unspoken, but you feel a difference, and it's a good difference.
Oh, my son is a human being. Oh, wow.
No, yeah,
exactly.
My dad's a human being. Yeah, no,
exactly. And I think I'm like exactly that with my parents. Like we don't go deep, but it's like deep connection on the surface. But that's because I like to be compartmentalized. So you're saying having this exposure to this has allowed those channels to open up?
Yeah, he was the first one to read the second one that came out. He's like, I gave it to my mom to give to him. And then, like, the day later, he texted me back. He's like, hey, another home run. Good job. Like, all right, cool.
Wow. Wow. Oh, man. No, but I mean, I relate to a sense only because my dad was the same way, too. 1950 Puerto Rican. Like, especially in Hispanic culture, they don't talk about mental health or they don't talk about, like, like you said, the openness and stuff. Honestly, it wasn't until, like, around the time where I was getting ready to get married, that's when he really started to open up, but like kind of come around a little bit, start opening up. But oh God, I'll never forget my wedding day, the day of. I'm with the cameraman, with my best man, whatever. We're like, okay, we're getting ready. And my dad's like, listen, I don't really say much, but this is what it is. And I'll never forget this. He said, let's just remember two things. I'm like, okay, well, I think he's going to give me like this whole speech, whatever. I'm like, yes, he's finally going to tell me. He says, it costs cheap to get married, but it's expensive to get divorced. So make sure you chose wisely. I was like, what the fuck? That's it? And he walked away. My mom gave him that look like, okay. I gave him that look. I'm like,
oh my God.
Oh, okay.
Andy,
I guess that's as good as it gets.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
I'm like,
Andy,
yeah, okay.
Andy, that's funny. It reminds me of the first time I got divorced. My dad told me, and we were only married for like 3 months officially, but technically, anyways, that's not important. But he said to me, yeah, I didn't actually see that guy for you. I'm like, you could have told me before I got fucking married that you had an opinion that you didn't think this was the guy for me, which I thought was just hilarious. Because again, we don't talk. We don't share.
Maybe that was the ultimate parenting. Maybe that was the ultimate parenting, though. It's like, all right, she got to figure out this shit on her own.
But, yeah, but you know what's funny? But you know,
I don't think I did. So,
but it's interesting because with my wife, because she's had 2 marriages and stuff before I married her, and she was saying how her mom was not open, but she had no filter. It was kind of like, oh, why you, like, pretty much she didn't approve of her first marriage. And I think after 6 months or something, they had an annulment because it just didn't work out. And then her mom was like, yeah, I told you so. Like, and I'm like, oh, damn, that's fucked up. Like, damn, that sucks. I mean, she said that, damn. But she has no problem, like, just speaking her mind. And sometimes it's at the most inappropriate times. I'm just like, wow, okay. And then I finally met her mom. I'm like, okay, now you were not over-exaggerating. Okay, now I understand. I got to watch what I say around her because she'll have something to say. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to just go over here and you guys have your little melee. That's fine. I just don't want no part of it.
That's smart, Andy. You should definitely stay out of that. But it seems like also that we're talking about different, like, tragic relationships all of a sudden. Greg, there's a lot of themes like that throughout your collections of work. Some interesting thematics that have happened. There's one poem that talks about somebody sending you a picture of an ultrasound of somebody else's baby. Like, again, where do you come up with some of these tragedies or like these? Because again, these are some high intense, emotional kind of stories that I guess extrapolate from reality and what you know. So talk about that, please.
I don't know. It's just stuff that I remember happening, and I hang on to everything. That's my one of my more negative traits is I hang on, and I remember all the
Yeah.
nasty shit, always the bad, never the good. This is how that's life. It's how we are. But that ultrasound one, that was like. And I don't want to sound like I'm a biographical writer. I don't want to, because I love telling people.
No, you never
might
say
be
that, Greg. You would never say that.
No, I do like to leave the mystery. Like, I know it's true. I know it's true. You don't. So I can, but, I have no problem telling. That happened, like, for a long, long time ago. And I wrote about it, like, a few years later. And then I forgot about it. And then I discovered it. I'm like, oh, my God, I forgot I fucking wrote about that fucking bitch. And, and then I was like, let me make something out of this. And I like that one that came when that one came out. I know the one you're talking about.
It's good. It's a good one.
Thank you.
I liked it because again, there's that twist ending that you didn't necessarily expect. You knew something kind of tragic may be happening, but not that, because that is like ballsy for somebody to necessarily. Also, because I kind of was in a similar situation, not quite exactly the same, where I got pregnant with my second husband while I was still technically married to my first husband, and having to tell him that. Woo, that was not a fun time. Holy shit!
Oh, wow.
I didn't send that guy an ultrasound saying like, check out this. This is so cool. Like, that's
You
how it
Jezebel.
Listen, I've always said I'm not a good person.
Hey, we all got skeletons in our closet we ain't proud of.
Oh,
I ain't judging.
of course. Reminds me of oh my God, it reminds me of an Eddie Murphy joke. He says something. I think it was that thing Raw. He said you got fucking bones coming out of your mouth and shit. I forgot. He said something like that. She got me dying. I was like, oh. He said the quietest women are the most skeletons in their closet. Watch out, or some shit like that.
Why
spit that shit out?
Andy, why does it happen when we talk to Greg? Because the last time I said I was the one carrying the largest bat in the room, you know what I mean?
Oh,
I just goes that way, man.
The what? Oh, when you say you have to, oh my God,
the biggest dick in the room when you walk in. That's what it is.
Yeah, you just pop it right down the table.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let two boys talk over me. I'm gonna tell you how it is.
Yeah, you got to fake it till you make it. Just walk in and just flop it right on the table.
You're like flat.
Yeah.
Oh
exactly.
My God.
Even if you're not, you just gotta do it sometimes.
And I think that, Greg, that's actually kind of important. I'm kind of glad that we brought that up, because that's kind of like you're a tongue-in-cheek, kind of sarcastic, kind of that swagger, just like what Andy just said. You're kind of like you said, we've spoken before that you have some not idolation, but some references to like a Larry David, kind of a thematic hilariousness, kind of a I'm gonna poke you, but it's because there's something behind the poke that I'm really trying to say.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your voice? Like, can you talk about that at all?
To be a little more specific, that sounds like a broad question. I'm not good with the broad.
No, it's okay. I can make that more specific. You have a tongue-in-cheek kind of a sarcastic commentary. Where does that come from?
Well, both my parents are very much like that. Both of them in their own different ways. My mom is more biting. My dad's more, whatever. I don't give a shit, that kind of thing. And I'm a combination of both of them. But I was also one of the big things that I was raised. One of the big lessons between the two of them was don't take yourself seriously, and don't take much of anything seriously. And as I've gotten older, and I've seen the utter tomfoolery bullshit of our society, I cannot possibly take any of it seriously. I don't know how anyone else can. And here we are on this the only place we're ever going to live, like Carl Sagan said, this little blue dot floating in the middle of nowhere. Nothing we do matters. Whatever you protest or whatever you're bitching about, whatever illness comes after us next, it doesn't fucking matter. None of it does. The last election, especially, when seemingly rational people were like becoming wild villagers with pitchforks and torches. I'm just like, I can't take any of this shit seriously anymore. I'm done. I'm not voting. I'm not debating. I don't give a fuck. I've washed my hands. I've washed my hands of all this. And I told all of you, if you want to change, flip the middle finger on election day and say we deserve better. But y'all didn't. Y'all went the same narrative. So why? This is the only. again, here we are. We shouldn't even be here. That's the thing. Humanity's an accident.
Yeah.
You know, we are an accident. We should never have gotten out of the food chain, but we did, and here we are. You know, and it just boggles my mind that we just can't stop and breathe and think, oh yeah, this at any moment a gamma ray burst could fucking wipe us all out. And then what are we? Well, I'm pissed off because Budweiser had a fucking tranny on their advertising them. What the fuck? Why are we pissy about that? Well, we're pissy about fucking beer cans. We're pissy about beer cans. You know, for fuck's sake. And again,
oh my God,
gamma ray burst. Wipe us out, and that's our last thought. So I can't take it seriously. So here, so I get annoyed and, as you can tell, a little heated about this sort of stuff. But also, I feel liberated.
Good.
Because
that's good. That's good.
You know,
Greg, if I can extrapolate on your point a little bit, it sounds like you're just coming in with a very common point that I think a lot of us have, is that this is too much bullshit, and we gotta let this bullshit go. But we are not able to, as a society, let go of the bullshit because we are ingrained in tradition. Tradition, whether it's good in theory, we cannot get out of the chains of tradition, and we cannot go past that. So you're utilizing that kind of. I'm going to use the word abrasive. Abrasive is not the right word. I'm going to use the word abrasive right now because I can't get to my power thesaurus in this moment. That harshness that gets people. You like to get people a little heated as well. You want people to feel the same heat as you. Is that fair to say?
Yes and no, because I'm not trying to influence. This is me. And if you want to think that I'm good, if not, fuck yeah. You know, that does sound abrasive. I don't want to come across like that as a person. I mean, initially, yes, that's why I am kind of hard to get to know occasionally. But as a human being, you're right, it's very all tongue-in-cheek. I try to be, kind of like nudge, nudge, wink, wink on this, but I'm also dead serious because why the hell shouldn't we all just all the three of us probably have vastly different opinions on a vast array of topics.
Absolutely.
But here we are talking about fucking books. Here we are talking about fucking books. Why can't the rest of the world just turn off anything social, don't listen to any media, whatever you are on the spectrum, wherever, I don't care. And just talk about sports, talk about Jordan, talk about books and movies, and my God, we'll get along. I've worked with guys who are straight out. I've worked with guys who are straight out of jail. I didn't think I was gonna be budged with ex-cons, ex-drug dealers, but I got along with them. Why? Because nobody gives a shit, and you're just two guys slumming in a kitchen. We're equals. Nobody's better in this position. So. And the guy was my age, and I was like, were you a Jordan fan? He's like, nah, I was a Patrick Ewing fan. I was like, oh, fuck you, man, come on. That's how it starts. It's like, God, it's so easy. It's so easy. That's why I can't take this shit seriously.
I feel you on that. No, but I feel you on that.
Can I say one thing? Because I think that's important to notice. I think there's a difference between people who say abrasive things to be abrasive, and then there's a difference between being abrasive to get a point across, and that point is, this is bullshit. You know what I mean? And I think that's what you're trying to say. So again, where there's an abrasiveness, it's not an abrasive negative nastiness. It's really to open your mind. Let's think about this topic, kind of a conversation.
I had to hone that.
This is your opinion.
Yeah, I had to hone that too, because I mean, I would just be abrasive to be abrasive. I think everyone does that.
No.
But okay. And at some point I was like, this isn't really me. And I'm really coming across as a dick. I really don't want to come across as just a dick and just become famous for being a dick, even though I'm not a dick. That's stupid. So I had to I don't remember exactly when or why I started to try and mellow out or calm down, but I focused it into a more, I don't know if it's a positive light, but more realistic, less dickish, I guess. I don't know. There's people who still think I'm an abrasive, cold-hearted dick, and they're probably always gonna be, but I can't do anything about that. I can just, come here and see the man behind the curtain, so to speak.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
we're all similar people. We have different beliefs and different ideas, but it's okay to have different beliefs and different ideas and discuss them.
Mm.
And again, what I think it's a good thing that you mellowed out, because you have a lot of really important things to say and share, and your artistry and your poetry and your works is great. And if you are too abrasive, people are going to miss that unnecessarily, by accident, because there are some things that are happening visceral. There's just, oh my God, immediate responses to things that trigger them because of some things that are happening to them, rightfully so, that they miss the greater picture unnecessarily. So that's why, I think you did a good job. And I think it's a very important concept to say to other people listening, because there's nothing wrong with abrasive. There's nothing wrong with shock.
No.
But again, there has to be something behind it. Shock for shock's sake is that's just sloppy. And I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
You're trying to layer it, intellectualize it, maybe theorize it a little bit, so it's underneath something that seems abrasive.
It's funny you say that, because one friend of mine who got the new book, she said she didn't like it as much as the first one because it didn't seem as raw, and I was like, nah, it is, but again, because I tried to take it in a different way. I didn't want to, again, like you said, shock for shock's sake is BS, So I was like, let me take the intensity here, but make it not, make it sincere, because you can always sniff out bullshit in somebody's pieces. You can always tell what's sincere, what's not. So I try to make it as sincere and as honest as possible, but in a more dressed up way occasionally. Again, I don't want to be just that one trick pony.
Yeah.
I agree. How about we do another piece right now, Andy, unless you had something that you wanted to say?
Okay.
I just want to say, one thing I just wanted to say was to what you said earlier about how people worry about so much bullshit. It's like, dude, it is what it is, kind of thing. One thing I wanted to add on to is like, hey, the day I don't know if it ever will happen, but the day it ever happens, if we ever become extinct, bugs, birds, animals will fucking surpass us no matter fucking what. That's the crazy shit about it. But yeah, we're worried about dumb shit.
No, exactly, yeah. We all wind up as fucking worm food anyways. Fuck. Chill out, guys. Goddamn, chill out. Smoke a joint and chill. Fuck. Have a drink.
Oh, man.
Jesus.
Word.
Absolutely. So if you are just joining us towards the end of our first hour, we have been highlighting this poet. He's 2-time published from Raw Earth Inc., who we've interviewed before too. We maybe should ask about your experience through that publishing process, for maybe just for fun's sake. But we're also going to hear another piece by our guest of honor for this hour. We will be starting our open mic at the 10 o'clock hour. So if you are joining us wanting to do that, we'll get you on shortly. So you decided to go through Raw Earth Inc. for both of your books. For your next book, is that something that you're going to continue to do?
Probably, because I'm really liking the experience. Tara's very easy to work with. She's very encouraging. She's giving me good ideas and good guidance on where to go next. So, yeah, right now, yeah, absolutely. I have no complaints at all.
Greg, can I just say few? Because what if you were going to say no? Like, what a horrible question
No.
to ask.
Fuck her.
Yeah, I'm not going to fuck you.
Nah.
No, she's great. We've interviewed her before. We're hoping to get her again as well. Absolutely. Fun side fact, everybody. My cat is attacking a mouse right here on my deck right now live, so just ignore me.
Okay, Can we see the mouse?
Yeah, it's fun over here.
That's too graphic.
Interesting.
So you want to hear? Okay.
Yeah, at least one or two more.
Okay. What do I want to do next? Okay, I'll do this one next. So this one's based on my days working at Chipotle. I was a Chipotle prepper for 3 years.
I knew when you said it was my days working, I'm like, oh God, it's a Chipotle one, isn't it?
It is. Oh yeah. So here we go. This is called "Escape to the Open Ocean," and it goes like this. Most of my coworkers are just out of high school. We're talking between 17 and 19 being the average. Being in my 30s makes me geezer in residence, but we all get along because I treat them like adults, and they all agree I neither look or act my age, whatever the hell that means. I was like them once. I was an 18-year-old dishwasher at the local diner, wondering what the hell the 30 and 40-year-olds were doing waitressing or short order cooking, laughing silently to myself, not spitefully, but arrogantly. My youthful pride believing that'd never be me. I'm 100% sure most, if not all, wonder what the hell a college-educated dude in his 30s is doing chopping jalapenos and, in an all-too-sobering moment of never say never, scrubbing pots and pans in the local Chipotles. How'd this sorry fuck screw up? I'm sure they wonder. I'm with you guys. I thought the same about Bobby Clark and Jenny B when I was a fresh-faced 18-year-old ready to conquer the world. As long as they don't find me creepy, they can think whatever they want. Those free-spirited little fuckers, how I envy them so. I envy their humor, which has yet to turn bitter. I envy their excitement for the future, which has yet to become a stress-riddled present. I envy the carefree shine in their eyes that life and all its trials and hurdles has yet to beat from them, dulling the glimmer. I like them all. They make me laugh, and sometimes even forget my own bitterness. And I'm reminded, too, that I still have a bit of life left in front of me yet. I can tell which girls will blossom by the time they're 25, and which fellows are destined to be stand-up, honest men of wit and honor. It kills me that not all of them will go places or are destined for great things. Some are destined for a crap life they couldn't avoid. Some are destined to be entitled soccer moms. Some are destined to become trash. Some are destined to be like me, starting over in their mid-30s at a Chipotle after a few misguided decisions. But, like the newborn sea turtle, a few will escape the bloodbath and escape to the open ocean. Promise me you'll make better decisions than I did, guys. Promise me you'll at least try. I'd hate for you to become like me or worse.
Wow. I love that.
Thank you.
I love that.
Thank you.
Oh man, I've had that thought process too when I was younger. It's like, damn, I'll never be that person. But yeah, I feel like there's certain aspects of that. But damn, I kind of am kind of that person. Like, it's crazy because I used to tell I used to tell myself, you know, I wouldn't, I'm never gonna be like my dad, all strict like that, or I'll never be all bitter about things. But yeah, I got an older, I'm like, yo, I'm very angry like my dad sometimes. Oh snap, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore, kind of thing. Or I'll see somebody walking down the street, especially when I was young, I'm like, oh, I'll never smoke a cigarette in my life. And yeah, here I am at age 23 smoking a cigarette. I'm like, oh, okay. It's funny. So it's one of those things we tell ourselves we won't do something. It's like Murphy's Law, where, you know, Murphy's Law pretty much.
Yeah. No, yeah, and
where you don't think it'll happen happens.
Yeah, and that was a big reset period in my life. I just left some really awful jobs, awful, and I'm like, the only way anything's gonna change is if I completely change and reset, which is an awful feeling because you don't know where it's gonna go. And anyone who's had to do a hard reset, you know exactly that feeling because it's like, oh, if I fail here, I'm fucked.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
I have to say
that's what I had to do, and. Yeah, there I was 30 working, with college, high school graduates. He's like, oh, this is fucking humbling as shit.
That's what I was going to say. Damn it. Like, you guys didn't let me get a chance to get a comment in, but Greg, that's what I want to say. That had to have been such a humbling experience, but also to go in with such a wisdom because you've been there. That's why you're able to pick out, oh, this person's going to be this person's going to be like that. Oh, I already know you. I've seen you. I've lived you. Again, I ask though, at the end of the day, it was kind of fun working there.
I love that job. I did. It was fun. Yeah. It was fun. Because I worked with a good group of kids. Most of them are pretty smart, and most of them are going to go places. I hope they do, anyways. I ate good every day. There was no stress at all. Any sort of stress that came out, again, I was just like, this is dumb. I'm getting paid to chop lettuce. I'm not going to fucking worry myself to death when I used to work outside climbing up 20-foot high rail cars every day. No, this is nothing. I'm not, fuck it, guys. Come on, chill out. This is get the day done, man. Nobody wants to be here, so let's just fucking enjoy ourselves,
Absolutely. Yeah. And then again, that's kind of, I think, where you got that attitude where, hey, I just fucking live, whatever.
Yeah.
This is where it is. Because again, that moment, that could be a moment where you look at yourself in the mirror and go, oh, fuck, I'm this, right now I'm 40 years old sleeping on a couch right now. Like, that's fucking depressing. But again, you were able to highlight the opposite effect of that, how you were able to kind of use some wisdom, some opportunity in order to achieve things after that. Yeah. So Well done.
Thank you. It's always weird to hear feedback. It's still weird to hear. No, it is, because it's like, I know what it's about. I think it's good, but then to hear someone tell me what they feel it's about and tell me it's good, it's still a foreign concept to me. I hope I don't lose that feeling. I think when you lose that feeling, then hang it up. Hang up the fucking writing pen. And that's why I don't want to be a one-trick pony. Just, again, these guys who just read Bukowski and Ginsberg and that's it. That's who they write as. And that's not that there's really anything wrong with that per se, but just come on, broaden it a little bit. Yeah. That's some advice I read from Bradbury, where he's like, I read everything from Byron and Shakespeare to the science fiction to the comics to anything, because the more you know, the more you can pick out what you like from these guys and then make it your own thing. Again, it's a concept that makes sense to me, and for some reason they don't teach it in the fucking overpriced universities, you know.
That's true.
But that's what I want. I don't want to be I don't want to be complacent in this literary wasteland of just laziness and complacency that I see, that I've seen. I don't want to be part of that. And there are a lot of others who have talent, who are not complacent, who are doing that same thing, and I hope that they get some recognition too, because there's a lot of good out there. You just gotta kind of rummage your way through this just arid fucking wasteland that I think the literary world's kind of become. But
absolutely. Well, I want to say this though, Greg, that you just said that there's a lot of good out there. Yes, it feels like a fucking wasteland, but Andy and I, we're trying to build that bridge to connect people to people like you who might not necessarily reach out to others because you're working on your own stuff because you are so creative minded and all that good stuff. But now people are able to connect to you more, and we hope to continue to do that. We are past the hour already. I can't even believe it. But, so we're going to say some last thoughts, and then hopefully you'll join us as we start the open mic. You're going to join with Andy. Andy's going to be driving the car. You'll be the co-host while I put our stuff together. But just some last thoughts. So again, if you're just joining us, we're about to start the open mic time, although we're going to put a cap. It's not going to go to a question mark anymore. We'll talk about that in the hour. Andy's got some new rules for us. Just kidding. Not kidding. But again, you're Greg Manzi, thank you so much for joining us for this hour. And the theme, Matt, was not to be a one-trick pony, and you're definitely not going to get that if you purchase any of the materials from our friend Greg Manzi, available on his webpage and through Amazon and all of that. So just last thoughts. I'm looking forward to the high school homecoming story that will hopefully be out in the next couple of years. Greg,
now I got cracking on it.
Yes, you got to start working on that tonight.
Great. I'm just going to be lazy. Fuck it.
All right, Andy, any last words before I turn the car off?
No, pretty much just say thank you, brother, for saying yes. Thank you once again for doing this part 2 with us, man. It's been an honor and privilege, and to go live was even like more magical, man. So thank you, man.
Oh my God, Andy, I've been so good all hour, and now I can't stop myself. But remember, like the first time we was on a phone conversation, I was in somebody's dead mother's house on the phone with wonky internet in Alabama. Like this was much more enjoyable.
Much smoother, yeah.
To be able to not talk over all y'all.
Yeah, no,
I can see when people are chatting.